Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Create This Book by Mariah Elizabeth. And the first page that we are going to do today is this one. And it says, create simplistic drawings. Fill this page with stick figure drawings. So after a bit, I came up with an idea, and I'm going to go in with some watercolor. So I have my paper here, and really quickly, I'm just going to trace the outlines of my book so I have a better idea of where I need to keep everything on the page. That way I don't accidentally cut any of it off when I go to glue it in the book. And to make this page simplistic, I felt like the best approach would be to go in with a black pen. But of course I wanted to add some color to the page to make it a little more fun. And since I needed 6 colors, I of course went in with rainbow colors. And now I'm just gonna let these dry really quickly before I go in with the pen. Okay, and for the most part, it's pretty dry. It's a little damp, but that's okay. And I'm gonna risk it all and just go straight in with my pen. So yeah, we're just gonna go for it, and hopefully I don't mess up too bad. I should probably actually tell you what it is that I'm doing and gonna be writing. So I'm going to be doing a stick man's guide to camping. I'm just going to be drawing simple stick figure pictures of different things that you could do while camping. And as you can see, I already wrote this crooked, so you know what that means. It's time to thicken up these lines. Anyways, our first camping activity is going to be hiking. So I'm just going to do a quick little sketch of a stick figure hiking up a mountain. Next, we have screen-free relaxing, and for this one, I'm going to draw a stick figure relaxing in a hammock. And our next activity is going to be fishing, so I'm going to draw a stick figure inside a boat trying to catch himself a nice fish. And actually, I remember when I was in like 7th grade, I went camping with my friend and her dad, and while he was fishing, we had both fallen asleep on the boat, and immediately I woke up with regret because I felt so sick to my stomach. And I had always told myself that I would never fall asleep in a boat again, but I don't know, because part of me really wants to be able to go on a cruise ship, but that thought is like always in the back of my mind. But you bet if I ever get the opportunity to go on a cruise, I guess I'll just take some like motion sickness pills or something with me. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens if that opportunity ever comes. And next we have stargazing. And I know that you can see the stars from wherever you're at, but there's just something about being out in the middle of nowhere when camping and getting to look up at the sky and not have all that light pollution. The sky looks that much more incredible. And lastly, we have campfire, which in my opinion is my personal favorite thing about camping because I just love sitting around the campfire, especially if somebody's there playing the guitar. I love that. But of course, like, what's not to enjoy about roasting marshmallows and making s'mores and telling stories? But yeah, what would you say is your favorite thing about camping if you have ever gone? All right, and now I just have to get it glued into the book. And as you can see, I changed his hair because I felt like it looked like he had antennas and I really didn't like that. Also, I added in the prompt down here, and I actually really enjoyed the simplistic drawing style. So I felt like I wanted to keep the simplistic sketchy vibe going through the rest of this video. And the next page that I felt like would be a good option is this one, and it says create a collection. Start a collection, document it here. Draw it, photograph it, or attach it to the page. So I have my sketch already laid out here, and I'm going to use my roller here, which has clearly seen better days. My toddler got a hold of it and accidentally broke it, but that's okay. And you know, it's actually kind of funny that even though I used a roller, my lines definitely didn't turn out as straight as I would have liked them to. So I could only imagine how they would have looked if I didn't use it. Anyways, for this one, I'm going to create a bunch of picture frames and make like a wall scene. And I'm actually going to print out small pictures of artwork that I've made and add it to the picture frames, and then that's going to be my collection. And to make it a little more fun, I add some shelves to the wall with some like books and plants and pictures and stuff like that. Okay, and now I'm going to add the prompt to this frame right here. And our first art piece is going to be this one. And I just printed these on label paper so I could stick it to the page rather than trying to glue it in. But you clearly will have to be careful because once it's on there, it's pretty much stuck. Anyways, this is not what the picture is supposed to actually look like. The quality of these are not going to be very good, unfortunately, because my colored ink is running fairly low. And every time I go to the store to try to get some ink cartridges, they always seem to be out of stock of the ones that I need. So I apologize for the bad quality. But if you do want to see what it's supposed to actually look like and how I made it, you can go to this video right here and you'll see how I turned my old Valentine's flowers into this. Anyways, the next art piece is going to be this one. And this one is a neurographic art design. And if you don't know what that is, it's a meditative drawing method. And it is actually quite relaxing to do. And as you can see, I accidentally printed this one out right on the middle of the line. Anyways, so this one wasn't actually turned into a video. I had drawn this one probably a couple months before I even started my YouTube channel. So I will quickly pull out that notebook and show you what it's supposed to actually look like. And you'll be able to see how much more vibrant the colors are supposed to be. And here it is. Looks so much more better in person. And you can see I made it back on September 9th of 2024. And the next art piece is this one right here, which actually came from my latest episode from my series, The Bucket List with an Artistic Twist. And again, this is not what it actually looks like, but if you want to see what it's supposed to actually look like, you can go ahead and check the video out. And this one right here was the 12th day of the 21-day fall sketch challenge. And it was actually the second video that I have ever shared on my channel. And I just want to say thank you so much to those of you who chose to follow me then, because I know like I still have a lot of improving on my channel, But when I first started, like you could just really hear it in my voice that it's like a mix between being really nervous and trying to figure out what to say, and also just it sounds like I was just trying way too hard, so it's extra cringy. So thank you for those of you who stuck by my side and have continued to join me through this journey. I greatly appreciate you. And I also want to thank any and all new subscribers who choose to follow me and continue to support me. So truly thank you. And the next art piece comes from my Create This book, which I don't have recorded because it was before I made a channel. But in the very first Create This book episode that I do share of a Harry Potter fan page, I end up doing a quick flip through at the end of that video, which is where you'll see a better quality of this one. And the prompt was to create a music-inspired page, and I chose the song Remember This by NF because there are some very good messages in the lyrics, which is exactly why I chose this song. And the next one that we have is this piece here, which was created in the Art Advent sketchbook, which was created by Cassie from the Cassie Projects, which she actually has a few other prompt books available now to purchase for all the other different seasons. So I'm eventually going to have to get those ones too because they're really fun. And lastly, we have this one here, which is a very special one because this one is actually the one that started it all. And I was sitting there working on this one, and my husband came over and seen it, and then he made the comment saying that I should start my own YouTube channel and that he would help me start getting things that I needed to make that happen. So yeah. Anyway, since this one wasn't recorded either, I'm going to grab my sketchbook so that way I can show you. And I have a cover on it to keep it safe. And for this one, I used colored pencils, and you can see that I finished it on October 7th of 2024. But yeah, this one will always be very meaningful to me. Anyways, here is our final page of Create a Collection. I love how it turned out. And to continue with our sketchy vibe, I picked out another prompt that I felt like would be perfect. And it's also going to be one where we're fixing a page that I had ruined a very long time ago. And it's this one. Like, yikes. So I made wax melts myself, and it was a vanilla pumpkin marshmallow wax. And I just took this prompt book way too serious. So instead of making it like all creative, I literally just dropped wax all over this page. Though it smells really good, it just looks horrible, so we're definitely going to have to fix this one. So I have a tray with a sheet of paper on it, and why you might be wondering? Because I am going to take these 2 cups of coffee and this little dropper thing, and we are going to create our own fantasy map. So to do this, I'm just mixing a black coffee and some lighter coffee that I put creamer in, and I'm just going to keep dropping it until I feel like I have a good shape. And then I'm also going to go over it with my paper towel to help it dry a lot faster. And here it's all dry, but unfortunately it's very sticky because I didn't even think things through very well when it came to adding the creamer and it giving it a different texture, but oh well. Anyway, so the first thing that I'm going to write is Lavish Lands, and that's because that's where our kingdom is going to be. So for all the different names that I write on here, I try to make them all kind of match with like the same letter. For example, Lavish Lands, you know, they both start with L's. So yeah, I try to do that all the way throughout the map to make it more fun. Anyways, so I'm just drawing the castle now, and you could already see that I was kind of struggling with the pen wanting to write on it properly. And I ended up having to actually use 4 to 5 different pens and switch back and forth because they were just struggling to write on the creamer spots, but eventually we got there. And now that I'm done with the castle, I'm just going to draw some rocks around it to kind of make it look like it's sitting up higher than the rest of the villages. And you can see that I was struggling in this top left corner because none of the pens wanted to work very well. So I switched over to a gel pen, which Ends up being a mistake later on because it ends up smearing in some spots, but it was the only one that would work the best on the creamer. But eventually I got my little river drawn out, which leads down to a lake over here, and I'll end up giving those names later on. And then over here on this little spot, we are going to create a little cave, which is going to be full of crystals. And this one is going to be called Crystal Cave, which means we are going to call this Crystal Kingdom. And really quickly, I'm going to outline some of the land and add some water. And then our river is going to be called Royal River. And over here on this side of the map, we are going to have our first village. And this one I'm going to call it Versatile Village for those who are very similar to me and were versatile when it comes to different art forms or liking different kinds of music like rap, rock, country, R&B, or those who enjoy different types of genres of movies like horror, comedy, romance, and so on. And then over here we have our fabled farmland, and this is where all the different crops and floral stuff is. So we're going to have hibiscus hills where you can go pick some hibiscus flowers for your tea. And then we're going to create a little city over here, and we are going to call it Crop City because this is where all the different crops are. So I'm going to create a little crop, and then I'm also going to add some orchards and some other vegetation. And then we're also going to throw in a floral farm with every kind of flower you can think of, so you can go get your favorite ones for any occasion. And over here we have Manifest Mountain, which is right next to Loring Lake, and it got its name because its beautiful waterfalls just lure you in, and it is called Flamingo Falls because that's where all the flamingos like to go and hang out. And I'm calling this area Nurture Nation because it's where all the animals are, and it's where people go to manifest their dreams, which is why we have Den of Dreams here. And I'm also going to add a forest called Froggy Forest, which is where all the different amphibians and reptile animals live for those who favor those as pets rather than like cats and dogs and stuff. And then I'm also going to add Clover Cliffs, which is where you can go and pick some 4-leaf clovers if you feel like you need a little extra luck on your side. And then I'm also going to create a little town called Tabby Town. And there are other animals over there, but mostly that's where you can find tabby cats. And then over here on this island, we are going to call it Ink Island, where the ink octopus hangs out. And that is where you'd get any kind of ink for your pens or for your printers or whatever else you may need it for. And then this island over here called Interest Island, where there is like a school/library, and that is where you go to study and learn about different things that might interest you. And then we're going to have Color Cove right here, which is where our ink octopus can get its color, so we're not just having black ink. And then we also have our Lucid Lighthouse, and this part of the map is going to be called Hobby Homelands, and it's where you can go to enjoy all of the different kinds of hobbies. And our first town is going to be Tech Town for all those who are really into playing video games or learning about computers and so on. And then we also have Venture Village for all those who are into like hiking, biking, snowmobiling, and all the other adventurous things. And I'm going to turn this mountain into Music Mountain for those who enjoy singing or playing different instruments. And then we are also going to have Craft City for all of us who are really into different arts and crafts. And then we're going to throw in Festive Forest, where you can get all your different decorations for different festivities. And then these mountains are going to be called Material Mountains, and this is where we can get all kinds of different materials that we might need for any of the hobbies. And I'm also going to add a little river here, which is going to be called Rainbow River, and that is what helps the cove become colorful. And then this side of the map, we're going to have Sugar Seas, which tastes like sugar. And then, of course, this is going to be the Salty Sea, where our little sharks like to live. And then over here, we're going to create the Wandering Whirlpools, where you can jump into them and they take you to different locations that you want to go and explore. And then I'm going to create a little ship over here just because. And then of course I just have to add a cute little Loch Ness monster. Okay, and we are now officially done with this map. And I thought it would be fun to actually burn the edges of this map and make it look more rustic. And I am a little nervous because I don't want to accidentally let the flame go too long and burn everything I just did. So here's to hoping it all works out. Okay, I think it looks pretty good, and now I just have to cut it down the center, and hopefully I don't accidentally cut this off. I think it'll be okay though. But I'm gonna get it cut and glued into the book and jump straight to the glamour shots for you. So we did create an Inkblot, and we turned coffee into a fantasy map. And then we did create a collection where I took some of my art pieces and created a picture frame collage. And then lastly, we have Create Simplistic Drawings, where we created a stickman's guide to camping. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!